Hey, move out.
From out of the skies over Vietnam come the Screaming Eagles, the heroic paratroopers of the 101st Airborne Division. Their fabled exploits during World War II can never be forgotten. In December 1944, outnumbered and surrounded by the Germans at Bastogne, the men of the 101st courageously fought on. When the Germans ordered them to surrender or be annihilated, their acting commander, Brigadier General Anthony McAuliffe, gave the historic reply, nuts, and they stood until the Germans were defeated. It is in this same tradition that the men of the Screaming Eagles 1st Brigade today serve on the jungle battlefront of Vietnam. On a warm spring day in 1965, several Army aviation companies arrive in Vietnam aboard the carrier USS Iwo Jima. It is the beginning of the Army's air mobility buildup, the first of the assault helicopters, which soon will fill the air over this embattled land. Even as the pilots of the 101st Aviation Battalion whirl away toward the field at Vung Tau, all of South Vietnam is infested with Viet Cong. From the north, they stream down the Ho Chi Minh Trail, and like a disease, spread throughout the Southern Republic. Into this setting come the first of the Screaming Eagles, the aviation crews of Company A, forerunners in the massive American military buildup to stop the communist enemy. For the Republic, this is a time of desperation. Here at Vung Tau Airfield, 40 miles southeast of Saigon, the job begins for these airmen. Along with helicopter crews from other aviation companies, the men of the 101st are to be processed for movement to their new homes in the forward areas of Vietnam. Their mission now is to create the helicopter bases from which U.S. Army forces can be flown into combat against the Viet Cong. Quickly now, they make ready. In the next 90 days, before the airborne infantry arrives, these men will do a man-sized job. On the 29th of July, 1965, the 1st Brigade of the 101st Airborne Division arrives at Cam Ranh Bay. The brigade, with its supporting elements, is commanded by Colonel James Timothy, who is welcomed to Vietnam by Ambassador Maxwell Taylor. And by General William Westmoreland. In the ceremonies which follow, Colonel Timothy gets his first look at the strife-torn shores of Vietnam. And for the first time, the brigade unfurls the proud emblem of freedom over the land it is here to protect. To Ambassador Taylor, the occasion holds a special meaning, as the one-time commander of the 101st talks to his son, Captain Thomas Taylor, now a member of the Screaming Eagles. Concluding the day's events, some of the airborne infantrymen stage a parachute jump for Ambassador Taylor and General Westmoreland. It is to be one of the few jumps these paratroopers will make in Vietnam. The Screaming Eagles descend toward the earth and the unknown hardships of jungle warfare they will face in the months ahead. Within 2 weeks after their arrival at Cam Ranh Bay, the Screaming Eagles are sent northward on their first combat operation. As they sail for Qui Nhon, 130 miles up the coast, It is mid-August, and the brigade hasn't yet had time to establish its permanent home base in Vietnam. While the Vietnamese are celebrating the Lantern Festival, the men of the 327th and 502nd are moving inland from Quien Nhân to An Khê in the Central Highlands. Their mission is to clear and secure the An Khê area as a base camp for the U.S. 1st Cavalry Division Air Mobile, which will be arriving from the United States in a matter of days. At Bao Mang Pass, overlooking An Khê, the landings begin. After months of special training at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, this is it, the moment every man knew would come. A Viet Cong main force battalion has been reported in the area, and the airborne infantrymen expect instant contact. But it doesn't come. The Viet Cong are evasive, biding their time. It is an anticlimax for the men. This is their first lesson in Vietnam. No big battles when expected. Instead, a nagging war of attrition with primitive booby traps and snipers, small unit actions and ambushes in the jungle. Only when he thinks the situation is favorable will the enemy show himself in force. So the long, hard task of ferreting out the communist enemy begins. And the Screaming Eagles are good at their job. By the end of September, they will kill 600 Viet Cong. It will be a difficult thing, and some of these airborne fighting men will die. But the job, for this time, will be done. As the advance elements of the 1st Cavalry Division begin arriving at An Khê, they commence taking over the area secured by the Screaming Eagles. Finally, the men of the 101st Airborne are free to head south and establish their own home base in Vietnam. From An Khê and the Central Highlands, the brigade moves 170 miles to the coastal town of Phan Rang. This is to be their permanent camp, as soon as it can be built. Though weary from their campaign in the hill country, they work throughout October until the base at Phan Rang has been set up. General Westmoreland visits the Screaming Eagles on Thanksgiving Day, 1965, and inspects the camp at Phan Rang. He is pleased with their performance at An Khê and congratulates them on a job well done. Even as he returns to Saigon, the brigade is conducting local search and clear operations. As the new year begins, the entire brigade is deployed to Tuy Hoa, 100 miles to the north in Phu Yen province. Known as the Rice Bowl, this is the richest rice-growing region in central Vietnam. From this fertile area come crops to feed all the people of central Vietnam. But the Viet Cong have been seizing the harvest and collecting unbearable taxes from the frightened farmers. Now come the Screaming Eagles to protect the rice harvest and stop the Viet Cong. Codename Operation Van Buren. The orders read, search out the enemy in the Tuy Hoa sector and destroy him. This assignment will be tedious. The VC desert their dwellings and avoid confrontation with the Americans. Yet the district is infested with an enemy who makes night raids and continues to molest the farmers. The search goes on. Brigadier General Willard Pearson takes over command of the Screaming Eagles on the 29th of January, 1966. He steps up the pressure on the Viet Cong.
Fire!